Okay, so y'all, we are going to be talking about, I don't know if you've been seeing a lot on social media. Rapper Dank Demos, I believe it
Or
is.
DeMoss? I don't know.
DeMoss. We're just gonna call her, like, she calls
Dank
herself
D.
Big Dank, right? So basically, if you don't know a little bit about the story, so the reason why her name really started trending, she is a rapper from Detroit, and I'm assuming she's bigger out there. I never heard of her before this incident, but there was an incident basically where she said that she was going to a football watch party for, I believe, for the Detroit Lions that was happening at her cousin's house. So to get there, she was going to Uber. So when she got outside after requesting the Uber, she said,
I thought it was a Lyft.
I'm a Lyft. I'm so sorry. Uber, don't.
Girl, we don't want to drag the wrong people, honey.
Right. I'm sorry. Flag on the play. So reel is back in. So, like I said, she was going to Big Dank was going to a football party at her cousin's house. This is what she's saying. And when she was going, she requested a Lyft ride to go get there. So once she got outside, she said the Lyft driver kind of made a face, like I guess a stunned face or like a surprise face, and like he locked the doors on her. And basically his reasoning for that is to say that she is too big to get in his car. I'm paraphrasing, but basically that's what it ultimately was, right? So she pulled out her camera and started recording like the exchange, because she's like, this is like just crazy to me. Like, this is wild. So that's happened. And she sang in an interview, like she did an interview with the Breakfast Club. And on the interview with the Breakfast Club, she's basically saying that she did not get the Lyft driver fired. She didn't file a complaint against him or nothing like that. But when she posted the video, it gained traction. So then that's when Lyft tried to reach out to her, but she's saying that she doesn't want to talk to Lyft. So now they're going through the process of a lawsuit where she's basically filing the lawsuit against Lyft. Now, originally she said that she's not suing the Lyft driver, but his name is kind of mentioned in the lawsuit. It's like, it's legal gargle, like, you know.
Okay.
So that's kind of up to the lawyer if they will be like including him in the lawsuit, but she's saying that they're not filing a lawsuit against him. So we're going to end up showing this clip of her recent interview on the incident with Lyft and her talking about her size. And if you don't know, she's currently, I believe she said she's like 487 pounds, but originally she was like 590. So she is a big girl. So
let's play the clip.
Good morning.
What's going on? Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
Stormy. Hey, Ken. How you, brother? You good? Nice to meet you, Keys.
Got it. Yep. This the only seat y'all got?
What you want? What you need?
There's one more.
A bigger chair or something.
Cause she already little.
Good. This is the accommodation.
There you go.
Hi.
How are you?
F word. I'm not.
You good?
Good morning.
What's going on? We had
That's what I'm talking about. Good. This is the accommodation.
There you go. You know, you walked in and, you know, you said the chair was too small, so you had to bring the part of the sectional for you to sit in. And you said something. You said, now this is what I'm talking about, accommodations, right?
Yes.
But we live in a world that's not always going to be able to accommodate people that are
But we
plus
should,
size.
though. We should, because we not all the same, you know? I feel like we should. Like, why not? I feel like a lot of times people think that bigger people, obese, the F word people should just be in a house, when it's like, we not. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a part of it. If you heard her say the F word, she says in that interview that she does not, like in her house, in her life, she does not like to use the word fat.
Yeah. Well, for this purpose we will be using the word fat. Okay.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, if they think the F word usually is like a curse word, but she says the F word as in fat. But go ahead, Rebecca.
So I've been seeing a lot on TikTok about people like talking about this interview and like people talking about the lawsuit and everything in general. So one of the things I've seen people saying on TikTok is that she came in there like real rude, like y'all don't got a big chair and stuff like that. But if you watch the full interview, they kind of acknowledged how they did talk about the original lawsuit before Dank even sat down for an interview. And of course, like, you know, Charlemagne, he, like, as someone who's a part of the dickhead community, like, he makes jokes and stuff like that. So they obviously made jokes about like her weight and things like that, and like laughed and everything. So I feel like people are saying that she didn't even say please when she got the chair and stuff like that. But like, if you know that people were clowning you or kind of like making fun of you, when you approach a location where they're going to be at, are you not going to be standoffish kind of, or like seem like a little like distant? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
So like when people are saying like, oh, she got to pick a struggle, like you can't be big and rude. It's like, if you watch the full interview, after like the ice kind of broke down and like, they acknowledged everything, like she was laughing, they were laughing, like the conversation kind of started going like, back for back and like kind of going
a normal conversation.
So like when like if you watch the full interview, I feel like people only watch that one clip where they pulled out this, like they pulled the sectional over and stuff like that. And like, that's when people are like, oh, she's just rude, like pick a struggle, like you can't be big and rude. And it's like, what are y'all even talking about?
So how do you feel about this whole, because I think in the clip, we didn't show this in this particular one, but she said like people need to be accommodating to us, like people are accommodating to the LGBTQ plus community. And some people took that as like they didn't like that she said that. So how do you feel about this? What she said, like people need to be accommodating for people of all shapes, not just the skinny people.
Right. So I feel like if I've said this once, I've said it twice, 3 times, and 17 other billion times. I've been plus size my whole life. I've been called fat. I've been called big mama. I've been called every name in the book. Like, as someone who's literally grew up like always being the bigger person in most groups, like I get my way from my father. Like I just get it I get it from him. So my thing, when I listen to her say that, it's one of those things where it's like, I get the point you were trying to make. I just don't feel like the comparison was the right one. So it's like, I get being plus size, being big, like, for a while, a lot of things did not cater to plus size people, big people, obese people. Like there were not things that catered to them. Right. So I don't feel like that compares to people within the LGBTQ plus community, because it's like, people hate people within that community because, one, like you've always mentioned, religion, or they don't understand, or they have like this own agenda where they don't like people liking people of the same sex, transitioning and everything like that.
Right.
That has nothing to do with you being big. Like, I feel like the two don't go hand in hand. Like, you're saying that you want people to be more accommodating. I would say, if that's the example you want to give, I guess you could kind of say like, because my whole thing is like, you're plus size and big because you choose to be that way. I don't think anybody goes out of their way to be gay, lesbian, like whatever, because they choose, oh, this is the way that I want to live. Like, this is who they are. Like,
right. But I 1000% agree with what you're saying. But I will say that I feel like some people also don't choose to be plus size. Like, I think there's some people that are plus size that, they have some like hormones or just like how their genetics were built, that they just was never built to be skinny.
And I agree.
But I do think the comparison is not the same. I don't think the comparison is the same. But I do think that she does have like a point when she says like, and again, in this whole interview, if you watch it, she kind of says like, I think people have this misconception that like people that are overweight shouldn't be outside, right? Like regardless of what you do, people still got a problem. If you are at home on the couch, it's like, oh, get your big ass up, right? But then if you outside, people looking at you like you an alien. So it's like, there is no middle ground. And I do think that like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have always been self-conscious about my weight. Yes, now, like I feel more confident, but it's been years at the gym of whatever. But I don't have the confidence that like Rebecca has. I like had to work to get my confidence. And so like, I completely understand what she's saying. Like, I think people that are a part of the plus size community are looked at as less than, especially like, I watch Jemima, she's a YouTuber, and she talks about like when she goes to the doctor, she sometimes doesn't even feel comfortable because if she says anything of like something hurts or she has XYZ, they always want to bring it back to, oh, your weight. And okay, maybe yes, if you lose weight, things will get better. But it's like, like everything doesn't have to come back to your weight. And I think, again, as like producers, right? Like if I see that she is coming into our show and what she is coming here to talk about, yes, she's a Detroit rapper, whatever, but also the fact that she is suing or was suing or attempted to, whatever the case is, because she felt like the Lyft driver was coming for her, and you're having her on your show, why would you not, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it takes like that thinking in advance and like problem solving or trying to problem solve, because you see the chair and you see her, and so obviously you would, you know what I mean? Like, thankfully they corrected the stuff and they fixed it, whatever. But I do think that she does have a point, right? Like people do have to be accommodating, especially if you are a business owner or whatever. Like those are things that you do have to think about, because just because someone is bigger doesn't mean that they're less of a human, right? Like they deserve to have the same rights. They deserve to go on flights. They deserve to go on rides. They deserve to, do all these things that I feel like a lot of people that are a part of the community don't do, or just stay home, even if they do want to go to the amusement park or whatever, because they are scared. Like they might not say it out loud, but I'm sure they do think it. And Charlemagne is right? Like some people will not accommodate, but I feel like if you are a business and you are trying to succeed, do as much as you can to be accommodating.
So I agree with you. And her stepfather was there also. And like let me preface this by saying, when I first heard about the whole incident, right? I was like, and it's like, I noticed like terrible, like not terrible, but it's like, Rebecca, how can you say that you're plus size? But it's like, I'm also realistic, right? When I saw her, I'm like, she is type big. Like, like you remember what Petunia looked like? I don't think she would have been able to go in, but she's saying she could fit in any car. But she was also mentioning like the car that she saw for the Lyft. One of her friends has that same car and she fits in it perfectly fine. Right? So she was saying like she doesn't understand why he wasn't seeing it that way or whatever like that. So when I first saw that, I was like, okay, so like if she wasn't able to fit in the car, like whatever. And I kind of was one of those people who thought like, yeah, like she could fit in like a Lyft XL. Like, why can't she just do that? But her stepfather made a perfectly great point. Like, if 5 100-pound people or like 105-pound people and like luggage or whatever decide to try and cram into that man's car, he would have been like, yeah, let me put some music on, let me put the LED lights on. Like, he would have been perfectly fine. Like, those 5 people plus their items would have equated to the one girl's weight, right? I just think as a society, we demonize people regardless of it's good, bad, cute, or ugly. We will demonize people who don't fit into the mold that we have as like being acceptable in our society. Mm-hmm. I have never been like, from skin color to size to looks to personality to mouth, like the way I talk and everything, I have never fit inside of society's mold. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't ever want to. Right. So Sheyla talks about how like I've always had that confidence. And the reason why I've always had that confidence is because I've always acknowledged the fact that like there isn't going to be things that accommodate to me, but I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure I'm in the spaces that I feel like I want to be comfortable in. Mm-hmm. Right. So growing up, like a lot of like clothing places did not have clothes for me to fit. Right. I was always like the extra chubby girl, always the extra big girl and stuff like that. So I had to unfortunately wear like clothes from like Kohl's and stuff like that I did not. I mean, no hate to Kohl's. If you like Kohl's,
Shout out to Kohl's for being, inclusive.
Okay. But like my mom would always, and like my mom's been skinny her whole life. So like also no hate or shade to her either. But like, my mom was like, I really don't know what I'm gonna put you in today, So like I remember going to stores after stores after stores looking for like formal dresses and things like that. Like, and yeah, like that could bring me down and stuff like that. But I ended up finding something, is what I'm trying to get at. So for me, there's so many points that she made where I'm like, I get her. Like, people don't know that I have PCOS. And because when you have PCOS, like you're not able to just get rid of weight like that. Like my hormones don't just allow me to just like the workout Sheyla could burn 500 calories. For me, I
Right.
could do that same workout and the calories don't go away from me like that. It's
Mhm.
not going to be the same. She mentions that she has a thyroid problem. So because you have a thyroid problem,
It makes it harder.
you're not able to lose weight the same way. So it's like
Mhm.
just because you see a girl who is bigger than you and you see her talking about how places are not accommodating, if you are a size 200 or less and there are always things that fit for you, you don't like, if you don't choose to understand, you don't choose to understand. And people
Mhm.
are talking about like, oh, like her asking for a sectional automatically makes the Lyft driver's case. And it's like,
I just think, like you said, people are always gonna have something to say. But I think to the point that you said, like, oh, you understand that some things are just not gonna be accommodating and you adjust. I do think also to the other point of that is like, well, if the plus size women that came before you didn't speak up about the lack, like I remember like this TikTok girl that people were trying to come at her because she would go into these stores and she would clock the tea when there was nothing, that could fit her, right? But I think if people just refuse to speak out or like don't do it, then there's never going to be change, right? Like you can't expect something to move if no one is ever like shining a light into it. You know what I'm saying? Like if we never said nothing about like racism or none of that and we just shut up and just did what had to be done, then like sometimes we have to get uncomfortable for things to change. And I feel like for Lyft or just these car services or whatever, maybe because of this, something may change, right? Like, of course, at the end of the day, we do have to be realistic. Maybe there, like certain people aren't gonna fit in a car, but like, if there's something that they can't do, right? What I'm saying, like, or put on in the app, like, here are the cars that are, can fit whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just be more aware of it because just the same thing with like the shut up and dribble vibe, that is never gonna create change.
and
So let's.
I just wanted to mention this really quick point. So I agree with everything you said. And I think in terms of like this lawsuit, I'm not saying I fault the Lyft driver because if he feels like he was not comfortable driving, like there's times where like Lyft drivers or Uber drivers have canceled rides when they see a certain amount of people. Like they don't like drunk people in their cars and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it's just like, it's a level of comfortability. And if let's say he didn't feel comfortable driving with her in the car because he didn't feel like his car was suitable or sustainable for that, I can't fault him, right? But it's like you mentioned, I feel like it's the job of the app. If you're trying to make it a universal app for everybody, make it that way,
Right. And at least like I feel like from this moment on, now I feel like now the ball is in your court, right? Like, what are you going to do to make sure that incidents like this don't continue to happen or happen again?